At my dad's retirement dinner, I walked in with a framed photo of us from my graduation. He looked at it and said, "You really think this is about you?" I nodded, set it on the table, and left without a word. 20 minutes later, my sister called. "Why can't we access the retirement account?" I replied. He said, "It's not about me." An hour later, my mom was at my door, shouting my name. I opened it, and without thinking twice, I knew it was low. Even for them, I hadn't expected much. But what happened that night made everything I'd been holding in for years snap into focus. You give and give, thinking someday they'll see it. Maybe they'll say thank you. Maybe they'll even mean it. But I should have known better. That dinner just confirmed what I'd spent too long pretending wasn't true. My dad's retirement party was being held at this overpriced steakhouse downtown. Lisa organized it, of course. She sent out digital invites like it was a fundraiser gala, complete with a slideshow of Dad's career highlights and a customized cake with the company logo. The whole thing reeked of performance. All shine, no substance. I hadn't even planned on going. But then I found this old framed photo while packing up stuff from my storage unit a week earlier. It was from my college graduation, just the two of us. He had his hand on my shoulder, and I actually looked happy. I remember that day. It was one of the few times I thought maybe he actually saw me. So I showed up to the dinner, wearing a suit I hadn't worn since Greg's second DUI hearing. Walked in holding the frame like it was a peace offering. They were all there. Lisa and Greg, their kids buried in iPads at the table. Mom talking to one of Dad's old coworkers about renovations. Uncle James nursing a glass of red wine like it made him important. Everyone pretending like we were some wholesome American family, like we didn't all barely tolerate each other. I walked straight up to Dad, handed him the photo without a word. He looked at it for a beat, then raised his eyes to mine. "You really think this is about you?" I nodded, set the frame down on the table right next to his overpriced glass of scotch. Then I turned and walked out. No speech, no drama, just silence. I wasn't even halfway to my car when my phone rang. Lisa, of course. "Why can't we access the retirement account?" I kept my voice even. He said it's not about me. And I hung up. That account, the one she meant, I'd been managing it for years, quietly. Dad gave me power of attorney back when he started forgetting his passwords and couldn't handle bills on his own. I was the one who made sure they didn't default on the mortgage after Greg lost his job twice. I never complained, never asked for anything. They liked that because it meant they could pretend they were doing it all on their own. But now the funds were locked. I had revoked access 30 minutes before I walked into that restaurant. I'd already drawn up new terms. From now on, I was done being quiet. An hour later, Mom was at my house, pounding on the door like she owned it. I opened it and handed her an envelope. "Read it." She didn't move, just stared at me. So I shut the door. That envelope held the revocation documents, notarized, all legal. I wasn't playing anymore. The texts started coming in fast after that. "Greg, bro, this isn't cool." "Uncle James, we need to talk." "Lisa, are you really doing this to your own family?" Funny. I'd asked myself that same question 100 times over the years. When I paid off their debts. When I signed checks I couldn't afford. When I loaned Greg money for rehab, even though he never called me once sober. I did it all because I believed that family meant something. But they didn't see me. Not really. To them, I was an ATM with a quiet face. Well, that face wasn't going to be so quiet anymore. And this was just the beginning. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls. Most were from Lisa, a couple from Greg, one from a number I didn't recognize, which turned out to be their lawyer trying to discuss access to the retirement distribution. I didn't answer a single one. By 9 a.m., my email inbox was hit with a message from Dad's company's benefits department. Apparently, someone had tried to log in and reset his account using my credentials. I already knew who it was. Lisa's always had this delusional belief that if she sounds confident enough, she can talk her way through legal walls. She had probably used the same excuses she always did, something about family emergency, urgent bills, dad being confused. What she didn't realize was that I'd already changed everything. Passwords, pins, secondary access. I knew what was coming the second Dad pulled that little stunt with the graduation photo. Like my entire life had been one big inconvenience to him. That moment, that sentence, flipped a switch. Later that day, Greg showed up at my office. I wasn't surprised. I work in a glass building with a clear front lobby. I saw him pacing out front before he got the nerve to walk in. He wore that stupid leather jacket I bought him for his birthday 2 years ago. He walked in like we were college buddies. No appointment, no shame. "We just want to talk," he said. "Face to face." I told him the face-to-face part was over. That if he had anything to say, he could say it through email. He tried to throw around words like family bonds and loyalty, like any of that had ever meant something to him unless he needed a favor. I reminded him that he still owed me over $8,000. He left 10 minutes later with nothing but a warning. "You'll regret doing this to them." I didn't even blink. By the time I got home that night, things had escalated. There was a note slid under my door, written in Mom's handwriting, which I recognized instantly. No salutation, no emotion, just a list of monthly payments I'd been covering for the last 3 years. Groceries, prescriptions, the HOA fees, Lisa's phone bill, Greg's car insurance, and apparently a new subscription to some wine of the month club. At the bottom she'd scribbled, "Are you really going to leave us like this?" Yes, I was. And then I started cutting them off. That night, I logged into every account tied to my bank. The Netflix profile with the dumb name Greg had picked, gone. The Spotify that Lisa used for the kids, canceled. The second phone line I'd added to my Verizon plan for emergencies, disabled. I pulled the plug on the gas bill that was still in my name. Water, internet, all of it. I'd been funding their comfort for nearly a decade without even realizing how deep I was in it. And the craziest part? They thought it was normal. No thank yous, no check-ins, no accountability. They'd call it love when they needed me and disrespect when I stood up for myself. The silence lasted about 2 days. That was the longest they'd ever gone without trying to guilt-trip me. I assumed they were regrouping, making new plans, but I saw the signs. Lisa's Facebook posts suddenly got cryptic. Stuff like, "When someone you love becomes a stranger with a wallet," and "Some people need to grow up and realize who supported who." Then came the twist I didn't expect. A cousin I barely spoke to reached out on Instagram. Some message that started nice, asking if everything was okay, then took a turn. "I heard you stole from your dad's retirement." That true? That's when I realized Lisa and Mom had gone full smear campaign. They were rewriting the story in real time, framing me as the unstable black sheep who went rogue. The guy who, after years of support, turned on his family for no reason. They forgot I kept receipts. Every wire transfer, every email, every invoice I paid, every message where they asked for help, and I gave it without hesitation. So I started compiling. Not to fight back. Not yet. But because I knew what was coming. The pity parade. The twisted narratives. The sudden intervention. Plans where I'd be the villain they needed to save themselves from. And just when I thought things couldn't get more ridiculous, my dad called. The voicemail was short. "You made your point. Now grow up. Grow up." That's what he said to me after I spent years fixing their lives behind the scenes. After I bailed out Lisa's credit cards, paid for Mom's surgery, got Greg out of jail twice. I was the one who stayed calm when they collapsed, who took care of business while they played helpless. Now I was finally done being the cushion, and they weren't ready for the fall. I wasn't going to cut them off and disappear. That would have been a kindness. No. I wanted them to feel every inch of the distance, slowly. By week 3, the tone shifted. The rage faded into desperation. The calls came less often, but the messages got more subtle, more manipulative. They weren't screaming anymore. They were strategizing. Lisa sent me a video of my niece holding a crayon-drawn card with a shaky little, "We miss you, Uncle Rob." Kute, rehearsed, and completely staged. I paused the video halfway through. I could see Lisa's reflection in the TV screen behind her, crouched next to the phone, probably whispering lines. 2 months ago, she told me not to come to her son's birthday because I was too unpredictable. Now I'm supposed to believe she suddenly cares? The next day, I opened the door to all 4 of them standing outside. Mom, Lisa, Greg, and Uncle James, who I hadn't seen since he borrowed $5,000 until the end of the month 3 years ago. "We just want to talk," Mom said. I didn't invite them in. They tried to smile through it, pretending they weren't standing on my porch begging. Lisa started with some speech about misunderstandings and family ties. Greg added that he was willing to move past it, like this was some two-sided feud. Uncle James tried the calm uncle routine, some fake wisdom about how money ruins what love builds. I let them talk for 5 minutes straight. Then, Lisa dropped it. "We all have our roles. You've always been the dependable one." There it was, the mask slipping. I asked her one question. "What exactly does that mean?" She gave the kind of shrug you give when someone asks something obvious. "You're the one who holds everything together." No, I was the one who made it look like it wasn't falling apart. I closed the door, didn't say anything else. That night, I started digging. I still had access to the old Dropbox we used back when I handled all their accounts. Every invoice, wire transfer, payment confirmation, debt notice. Years of it. I spent 4 hours organizing it, labeling every file, color-coding them by name. I created a new folder called Family Finance Transparency and dropped it all in. Then I shared the link with them. No subject. No message. Within the hour, Lisa called me 5 times. I didn't pick up. Greg left a voicemail. "You think this is funny?" Uncle James texted. "We need to clean this up before it spreads." That told me everything I needed to know. They were embarrassed. Not because of what they'd done, but because they couldn't hide it anymore. The cousin who messaged me last week probably got the link. Good. Let it circulate. Let them explain the $7,000 I paid to keep Lisa out of collections, or the Venmo history where Greg asked for gas money while posting bar tabs the same night. I was done shielding them, and I wasn't stopping there. The next day, I had the lawyer finalize everything. Full financial separation. Name removed from the house. Utilities. No more emergency card for Mom. No more auto transfers. I even changed the direct deposit that was still partially going to the joint account Dad had set up back when I thought he trusted me. That same afternoon, Greg sent me an email with a 1-line guilt trip. "Don't forget who took you in when you had nothing." I sent back a screenshot. A $1,000 transfer 7 days after I got a job again, labeled for staying on your couch, plus interest. I didn't hear from him again. Then came the most pathetic play yet. An invite to a family sit-down hosted at Uncle James's place. Casual, they said. Just to talk it through like adults. I RSVP'd yes. And that's when I started planning something special. Something they wouldn't forget. They set it for Sunday afternoon. Uncle James's house. 3 p.m. sharp. He made it sound like it was just going to be a calm family meeting. But I knew what it was. A trap dressed in a cardigan and a cheese platter. Still, I showed up. I parked across the street on purpose, just to make them wonder if I'd even come. When I walked in, it was exactly what I expected. Mom stiff on the couch. Lisa over-smiling like she was hosting a book club. Greg leaning in the doorway like he'd been planning some dramatic outburst. Uncle James tried to act like the neutral moderator, offering me a seat like we were about to solve world peace. "We're here because we care," he started. Lisa followed. "We've all made mistakes, Rob, but this tension, it's breaking everyone. You've made your point. They thought this was about a tantrum. They still didn't get it." Greg added, "This isn't you, man. You're not the kind of guy who holds grudges." I asked him if he paid back that grudge yet. The one that came with a $4,300 price tag and court paperwork with my name on it. His jaw clenched. I pulled out my phone and said, I figured since we're all being honest today, we might as well be accurate too. That's when I started reading from the document I'd put together. 10 years. Every transfer. Every loan. Every instance of just this once that turned into permanent silence the second they got what they wanted. I read out amounts, dates, notes they'd sent me, screenshots of text messages asking for help, just for this month. Can't tell Dad. Don't mention this to Greg. And then I dropped the first twist. I turned to Uncle James. You still driving that Lexus you keep in the garage? He squinted at me. What about it? You remember when you gave me the title as collateral for the loan I covered on your refinance? Silence? That was 6 years ago. You've made 0 payments, so it's mine now. Title's in my name. I've already scheduled it to be picked up on Tuesday. He looked like I punched him. Lisa stood up. Are you serious right now? You're repossessing family property? I didn't even look at her. Same goes for Dad's antique golf set. The one in the locked cabinet, I had it appraised. It's going up for auction. Greg scoffed. You're acting like you're some boss. You're pathetic. I smiled. No, Greg. I'm just tired. Then I pulled a flash drive from my pocket and tossed it on the coffee table. Everything's on there. Every receipt, every favor, every lie. No one moved. Give it to the cousins. Give it to your church friends. Give it to whoever you've been complaining to about how I turned on you. I'm not hiding anymore. I stood up and walked to the door. But right before I stepped out, Mom said the one thing I knew she'd been holding the entire time. You need help, Rob. This obsession with control. It's not healthy. I've already contacted a lawyer. You'll be hearing from the court. I turned. You're filing for conservatorship? She looked proud of herself. You've been erratic, vindictive. You're clearly not in the right state of mind. It took everything in me not to laugh. She wasn't just trying to guilt me anymore. She was trying to legally take control of the assets I still held. She wanted access. She wanted authority. And she thought calling me unstable would scare me into submission. But I'd already seen it coming. I nodded. I hope you have good legal counsel. Because now, you've declared war. He left, got in my car, drove away like nothing happened. But while they were still stewing in that room, thinking I had finally cracked, my lawyer was already prepping a full counterclaim with evidence that they'd committed financial exploitation over years. They wanted control? Fine. I'd give them exactly that. Control over their own lives for the first time in a decade. No money. No cards. No safety net. Let's see how well they function when the dependable one disappears. One responsibility at a time. By Tuesday, the Lexus was gone. I didn't even need to be there. The tow truck came at 9 a.m. Sharp. Just like I scheduled. Uncle James called me 6 times in under 10 minutes. Left voicemails with a tone that started furious and ended begging. His 7th call came with a photo of the empty garage and the words, "You've lost your mind." I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on what came next. The court documents for Mom's conservatorship attempt were already in motion. She'd filed them the morning after the sit-down. But what she didn't realize was that trying to label someone legally incompetent when you've been financially exploiting them is a bold move, especially when that person has all the proof stacked in a color-coded Dropbox folder. My lawyer and I filed a formal response. We attached years of messages, payments, even the text where Lisa accidentally wrote, "Just say he's unstable enough. That'll scare him straight." That one was gold. It was like watching someone fall into a pit they dug for you. By Thursday, things started unraveling faster than I expected. Lisa's joint account with Mom froze because I'd reported suspicious activity connected to my old financial authorizations. Turns out they never removed me from the account they used for shared expenses. One flagged transaction triggered an automatic freeze. They called the bank. The bank called me. I authorized the hold. That night, Greg showed up at my apartment building. He wasn't let in. I live in a secure building now. The front desk called me, said some guy was downstairs yelling about stolen money and ruined lives. I told them to call security. He left before they arrived. The next day, I mailed a letter. One copy to Mom, one to Lisa, one to Dad. Inside was a single sheet of paper with 4 words, bold and centered. No more access granted. That weekend, they tried to play nice again. Lisa texted me photos of the kids, asking if I wanted to come by for dinner just to talk. Mom followed with a voicemail saying, "We don't have to go to court if you just meet us halfway." Dad sent a cryptic email. "This is your last chance to fix things before they're permanent." They thought I was bluffing, so I made it official. Monday morning, I had a certified letter hand-delivered to each of them. It included a final accounting summary and a cease and desist notice. Any further attempts to use my name, identity, or financial history would result in immediate legal action. Greg tried to screenshot the letter and post it online. Didn't work. I'd already reported him for harassment, and I had the social media posts flagged. His account was temporarily suspended by the end of the day. They were spiraling, and still, I wasn't done. Because while they were scrambling, trying to piece their lives together without my money propping them up, I was busy contacting a few old family friends, the ones they used to talk trash to about me. I gave them access to the full Dropbox folder. I didn't even explain it. Just let them draw their own conclusions. 3 of them reached out within 24 hours. One of them, a cousin in Florida, left me a voicemail that said, "I had no idea. You don't owe them anything, man." Exactly. I'd spent a decade being their safety net, their scapegoat, and their bank account. Now they had to stand on their own, and the silence that followed was deafening. 2 weeks went by with total silence. No calls, no emails, no fake kid drawings, no desperate voicemails about doing it for the family. I thought maybe they'd finally gotten it. Maybe the weight of their own mess had finally sunk in. Then I got the letter. Not from any of them. From the IRS. A routine audit had been triggered after someone filed an anonymous claim questioning my financial activity over the last few years. Undisclosed income, fraudulent write-offs, the whole package. I knew instantly who'd done it. Greg. He'd threatened something like this during a fight 2 years ago. Said if I ever turned on them, he could make things complicated. At the time, I thought it was just empty drunk talk. I underestimated how desperate they'd become. But here's the surprise. The audit cleared me. Not only did I have every receipt, every transfer, and every bank statement, but I also had a forensic accountant look over my finances 2 months earlier, just as a precaution before cutting them off. Not because I expected this exact move, just because something in me knew they wouldn't go quietly. I forwarded everything to the IRS representative, copied my attorney, and within 4 days, the case was closed. But now I had proof of the false claim, and we could trace the source. My lawyer filed a harassment complaint and began preparing to press charges for malicious intent. That's when things really flipped. One of Lisa's old college friends, a woman I'd barely spoken to, sent me a DM out of the blue. She said, "Hey, I don't want to get involved, but Lisa's been telling people you forged documents and took advantage of your dad's health." I thanked her. Then I sent her the Dropbox link. 10 minutes later, she replied, "Holy SH times T? I'm sorry. I had no idea." More messages started coming in. One from Greg's ex. One from Uncle James's old business partner. Even a guy Dad worked with years ago. They all said the same thing. They'd heard their version first. But now that they'd seen mine, the story changed. I hadn't expected any of that. I figured they'd lie. I just didn't expect the people they lied to would care enough to find out the truth. And then, the biggest surprise of all, I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, from Dad. Not a text, not a voicemail, a letter. He said he didn't agree with how I'd handled things, said I embarrassed the family and made things public. But then, in the last line, he wrote, "You were right. We treated you like a resource, not a son. I don't know how to fix that. I stared at that line for a long time. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel rage either. I just felt done. That night, I sat down and wrote a final email. Sent it to all of them. No anger. No threats. Just the truth. I told them I forgave them. Not because they earned it, but because I wasn't going to carry it anymore. I told them I wouldn't answer any more messages. I wouldn't be involved in any more family talks. No more access. No more debate. I wished them luck, then closed the email. And for the first time in over a decade, I felt like I finally got out. Because the truth is, sometimes the only way to win is to walk away and make damn sure the door locks behind you. The update. 6 months have passed. No calls. No texts. Not a whisper. They got the message. I moved to a new place. Smaller, quieter, without any shared keys or overlapping bills. Nobody knows the address except 2 friends and my accountant. It's not hiding. It's peace. The Lexus sold. I used the money to take a 2-week trip alone through the Pacific Northwest. Drove with no GPS. No schedule. I stayed in small towns, ate alone, hiked trails where no one knew my name. I remembered what silence without tension felt like. Last week, I ran into my cousin Amy at a coffee shop. She hugged me, said I looked like a whole different person, told me Lisa had tried to send out a mass apology letter, but ended up deleting it halfway through when no one responded. Apparently, she's in therapy now. Real therapy. Not the kind she used to fake to seem introspective on Instagram. Greg? No one's heard much. Rumor is he moved back in with a friend after his car was repossessed. Not mine. Someone else's. History repeating. Uncle James sold the house. Quiet sale. No party. No goodbye. As for Mom and Dad, still together. Still bitter, from what I hear. Still blaming the world for being ungrateful. But here's the twist I didn't see coming. I'm good. Not just okay. Good. I don't flinch when I check my bank balance. I sleep without waiting for a 3 a.m. call. I walk through my life without that invisible leash wrapped around my neck. And the other day, I did something I hadn't done in years. I framed a new photo. Just me on a mountain, smiling at nothing in particular. It sits on my shelf now. Quiet, simple, and this time, nobody else is in it.